Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and felt the silence pressing down on you? Not the silence of peace, the silence of someone who already knows that tomorrow it will be her again. Only her. Once more. Maria knew that silence well. It was 5:43 in the morning when the alarm went off. She lay still for 30 seconds, not out of laziness, but out of calculation. In her mind, she was already running the list. The kids' breakfast, the lunch boxes, her youngest's uniform still damp on the drying rack, a meeting at 9, bills to pay, dinner to cook, homework to help with at night, everything. Alone. And before you think, "But I have a husband and I still feel this way." Yes, you might relate to this. But for the single mom, there is no night shift for someone else to take over. There is no, "Can you watch them while I rest?" There is no splitting the load. There is her and God, and the choice she makes every single day to get up anyway. But here is what nobody tells these women. The exhaustion doesn't come only from the work, it comes from the disorder. And today, in this video, you are going to discover the hierarchy of peace, a system of 9 sacred habits that Maria used to transform her home from a battlefield into a sanctuary. Not in one day, not with money, but with method, faith, and a decision made in a quiet early morning hour. Stay until the end, because habit number 7 will completely change the way you see your own routine. Welcome to Graceful Routine. This is a space for women who don't give up, for mothers who raise children with one arm and hold the home together with the other, for you who at the end of the day, even exhausted, still folds a little shirt before lying down, because you know that order in your environment brings order to your soul. There is a truth that guides everything we share here. A home that is built with wisdom begins in the spirit and reveals itself in order. Proverbs 14:1 says, "The wise woman builds her house." It does not say she has to do it without help. It does not say she has to be perfect, but it says she has wisdom. And wisdom, dear mother, is exactly what you will receive today. Let us begin. Before any method, any list, any organization, Maria learned that a day that does not begin with God begins in chaos. Not because she was religious for appearance's sake, but because she discovered in practice that when she skipped the first 5 minutes with God, she spent the next 15 reacting to everything that happened. And when she stopped, breathed, and prayed, she anticipated, she acted with intention. Why it works psychologically, neuroscience confirms what David already knew thousands of years ago. The emotional tone of your morning defines the entire day. When your first emotion is gratitude and intention, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and emotional regulation, operates in active mode, not reactive mode. You stop putting out fires and start preventing them. The method. Maria created what she calls her 3 sacred minutes. 1 minute of silence and conscious breathing. 1 minute of prayer with a single intention for the day. 1 minute reading a verse and thinking about how to apply it. Only 3 minutes. But those 3 minutes are the fuel that powers the other 1,437 minutes of her day. The biblical foundation, Psalm 5:3. In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly. This is not about having a full hour of devotion every day. There is no margin for that in a single mother's life. It is about the consistency of contact. It is about saying, "God, I cannot carry this alone, but I know you walk with me." Maria started this habit on an ordinary Tuesday. And let me ask you, when was the last time you spoke to God before you looked at your phone? Maria used to make a mistake that most mothers make. She tried to get organized in the morning. She would wake up, panic, forget the snack, yell at her son, leave the house feeling guilty. Every single day, the same cycle, until she discovered that the peace of the morning is built the night before. Why it works psychologically. Decision fatigue is real. After a full day of choices, at work, with the kids, at the grocery store, your brain literally loses its capacity to make good decisions. When you leave organization for the morning, you are asking an exhausted brain to perform at its peak. It is a battle lost before it begins. The method, the 9 o'clock ritual. 15 minutes every night. Lay out the clothes for the children and for yourself. Prepare the backpacks. Set the coffee maker or leave breakfast items on the counter. Write down the 3 priorities for the next day on a small piece of paper. Do a quick sweep of the living room, not to clean everything, but to make sure you do not wake up to chaos. 15 minutes at night saves 45 minutes of stress in the morning. The biblical foundation, Proverbs 31:15, speaks of the virtuous woman who gets up while it is still night and provides food for her family. Notice, she gets up because she has prepared. Foresight is part of virtue. Maria began calling this ritual, "the gift I give to my tomorrow." And her children noticed. Her oldest son started packing his own backpack without being asked, because the routine became the culture of the home. And that is something powerful. When you build order, you are not just organizing objects. You are teaching your children that life has a rhythm, that peace is something you create, not something that just happens to you. Even without a father in the home, Maria showed her children that a home can have structure, warmth, and grace. Have you ever spent 20 minutes looking for a pair of scissors? Maria did. Every week, sometimes twice in the same week. The problem was not the scissors. The problem was that nothing in the house had a home. Why it works psychologically. Visual clutter generates what psychologists call parasitic cognitive load. Your brain processes every out-of-place object as an unfinished task. Multiply that by a house with children, and you understand why mothers arrive at the end of the day mentally destroyed, even when they have not done anything extraordinary. The method, the simplified 5S system for the home. This Japanese method was created for factories, but it works perfectly in households. The first S is seri, which means sort. Everything that is not used regularly gets out of sight. The second S is saiten, which means set in order. Every item has a fixed logical place. The third S is seiso, which means shine. Cleaning becomes a habit, not an event. The fourth S is seiketsu, which means standardize. Create a system that your children can also follow. And the fifth S is shitsuke, which means sustain. Keep the system with consistency. Maria started with the kitchen cabinet. She took everything out. She threw away what was expired or never used. She organized by frequency of use. She put simple labels on the containers. It took 2 Saturdays. But since then, she has never wasted a single minute looking for anything in her kitchen. And here is the part that changed everything for her family. She made the organization a team effort. She gave each child a zone. Her 8-year-old became the guardian of the toy basket in the living room. Her 12-year-old was in charge of keeping the bathroom counter clear. Nothing complicated, nothing that required perfection. But each child understood that the home belongs to everyone, and so does the responsibility of caring for it. The biblical foundation, 1 Corinthians 14:40. But everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. Order is not perfectionism. It is stewardship. It is honoring the space God placed in your care. Maria had a problem called accumulation. The dishes waited, the laundry waited, the floor waited, until the weekend arrived, and she had a mountain to deal with, spending all of Saturday cleaning and her children not seeing their mother. And she felt resentful, and the house felt heavy. The solution came from Japan, from the same source as the 5S, Kaizen, continuous improvement in small doses. Why it works psychologically. The human brain avoids tasks that feel large. It is a protection mechanism against effort. But when you fragment a big task into 10-minute pieces, the psychological resistance drops dramatically. You start, and whoever starts, finishes. The method, 10-minute blocks in the morning, 10 minutes to wash the breakfast dishes and sweep the kitchen. At lunchtime, 10 minutes to wipe the counter and organize anything left out. In the evening, 10 minutes to have the living room settled before bedtime. 30 minutes total, spread out. No weight. No mountain on the weekend. Maria involved her children. The 8-year-old handles the toys in the living room. The 12-year-old folds his own clothes. It is not perfect, but it is collaboration. And collaboration is education. On the days her mother visited, the children would proudly show their grandmother their zones. Maria noticed something remarkable. Her son started reminding her of the 10-minute evening sweep on the nights she forgot. The routine had become theirs, not just hers. The biblical foundation, Zechariah 4:10. Who dares despise the day of small things? God honors what is done with faithfulness in the small. The dishes washed today are faithfulness. The floor swept tomorrow is an offering. No routine survives financial chaos. Maria knew this the hard way. There were months when she organized the house, but her heart was still tight, because deep down she did not know exactly where the money was going. Why it works psychologically. Financial anxiety activates the brain's threat system. While it is in survival mode, peace is impossible, even in a clean house. Order in numbers creates order in the mind. The method. The 3-envelope system. Envelope 1. Fixed expenses. Rent, bills, school fees. Envelope 2. Variable expenses, groceries, transportation, unexpected costs. Envelope 3. Purpose, tithe, minimum savings, a future dream. Simple. No complicated spreadsheet. No app she never opens. Just 3 clear destinations for every dollar that comes in. Maria started holding what she calls a 15-minute meeting with herself. Every first Monday of the month, reviewing the envelopes, adjusting, planning. And when an unexpected car repair showed up one month, she did not fall apart. She pulled from envelope 2, made small adjustments for the next 2 weeks, and kept going. No panic, no debt. Just a plan. She also began having simple money conversations with her children, not about how tight things were, but about the value of things. Her 12-year-old started saving a small amount from his birthday money. Her 8-year-old learned that the tithe envelope was God's part, and took it seriously. Financial discipline was becoming part of the family's faith. The biblical foundation, Luke 16:10. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Managing what you have well is not a lack of faith. It is faith in action. At 6 in the evening after a long day of work, the most stressful question in the world for a single mother is, what is for dinner? Not because she is disorganized, but because nobody planned it for her. Why it works psychologically. Deciding what to cook in a moment of exhaustion consumes disproportionate emotional energy. This is why tired mothers reach for processed food or order takeout with guilt. It is not weakness. It is neuroscience. The method, the weekly menu. 30 minutes every Sunday. Maria sits down with a sheet of paper and a pen. Monday through Friday, 5 dinners planned. A grocery list that comes directly from the menu. 1 base protein that works for 2 different meals. Roasted chicken on Tuesday becomes chicken soup on Wednesday. The result, she stops thinking about food during the week. The decision has already been made. The money goes further. And her children started helping with preparation, because they know what is coming. Her youngest would ask on Sunday afternoons, "Mom, what is Tuesday?" And she would answer, and he would already be excited about it. Food became something they shared, not something she carried alone. The biblical foundation, Proverbs 31:15. She provides food for her family. Providing food with planning is care. It is love, organized. This is the habit Maria resisted the most, and probably the one you will resist the most too. Learning to say no. No to the extra task at work when she is already overwhelmed. No to the social obligation that drains without restoring. No to the responsibility that is not hers, but that she took on out of guilt. Why it works psychologically, women, especially Christian mothers, have been conditioned to associate no with selfishness. But there is a fundamental difference between selfishness and self-preservation. Selfishness is refusing others to benefit yourself. Self-preservation is recognizing your limits so you can continue to serve with quality. An exhausted mother does not serve anyone well, not her children, not her work, not God. The method. The 24-hour. Pause. Before saying yes to any new commitment, Maria started using one simple rule. Let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you tomorrow. That pause creates space to ask, is this an obligation, or is it a burden that is not mine to carry? And here is something Maria discovered. When she started saying no to what drained her, she started saying yes with so much more energy to what truly mattered. She said no to a weekend obligation that left her exhausted, and said yes to a Saturday morning at the park with her children. That morning became one of her son's favorite memories of the year, the biblical foundation, Matthew 5:37. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Saying no with clarity is honesty. It is integrity, and integrity builds far more peace than people-pleasing. Maria learned that every no to what drains you is a yes to what builds you. Maria used to stay up until midnight, not because she had so much to do, but because that was the only time the house was quiet and she could just be herself. No demands, no children calling, just her and her phone. She did not realize she was stealing from herself. Why it works psychologically. Chronic sleep deprivation, less than 7 hours a night, weakens the immune system, raises cortisol levels, reduces patience, and impairs decision-making. An exhausted mother is not a bad mother, but she is a mother operating far below what she could be. And the irony is that the more tired she is, the harder it becomes to do all the things she is trying to do. The method, the wind-down ritual, from 9 to 10 in the evening. Screen off at 9, phone on the charger outside the bedroom, a warm shower, 10 minutes of reading, the Bible or something light, a prayer of surrender, the moment she places the day in God's hands, lights out by 10. The biblical foundation, Psalm 127:2. He grants sleep to those he loves. Sleep is not laziness, sleep is trust. It is saying, God, the world does not need me awake at 2 in the morning. It is in your hands. Maria noticed something within the first 2 weeks. She was calmer in the mornings. She had more patience at breakfast. She stopped snapping at small things. Her children noticed too, without her saying a word. Rest had changed the atmosphere of the entire home. The last habit is not about organizing the house, it is about organizing the soul. Maria created a corner in her home, a small spot on the couch, with a cushion, a candle, and her Bible. It was not beautiful, it was not decorated, but it was sacred. It was the place she went to for 5 minutes, when the weight became too much, where she cried when she needed to, where she breathed before responding harshly to one of her children, where she remembered who she was beyond her job and her role as a mother. Why it works psychologically. Having a physical space associated with calm and restoration trains your nervous system to slow down automatically when you enter it. It is positive conditioning. Your body learns, here, I am safe. The method, choose a corner, any corner. Place something that reminds you of God. A candle, a flower, a verse written by hand on a piece of paper. Reserve 5 minutes a day just to exist in that space. Not to be productive, not to plan. Just to breathe and receive. Her children began to call it Mom's quiet spot. And one afternoon Maria found her youngest sitting there alone with a small Bible picture book, looking at the pictures in silence. He had learned from her what sacred space meant, not from a lesson but from watching. The biblical foundation, Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Hoping in the Lord is not passivity. It is intention. It is stopping long enough to be restored. Maria called her little corner my small altar, and her children learned to respect that space, because they learned that when their mother went there, she came back better. 6 months after that 5:43 morning, Maria woke up on a Saturday. This time there was no alarm. There was light coming through the window. There was the smell of coffee, which her oldest son had made, because he had learned, because the routine had become culture, because she had taught without preaching. She lay still for a few minutes, in silence. But this time the silence felt different. It felt like peace. The house was not perfect. There were toys in the living room. There was a pile of laundry waiting. There were bills to pay next week. But there was order in what mattered. There was a rhythm. There was intention. And there was her, and still the only one, but no longer alone. Because she had discovered that being the only one does not mean carrying everything. It means being the anchor, the root, the woman who, by establishing peace in her home, plants peace in the children who will grow up and one day build homes of their own. That is legacy. That is mission. That is grace in motion. And God sees every early morning, every quiet sacrifice, every dish washed in exhaustion, and every prayer whispered before the children wake up. He sees it all, and he honors it. Before you go, I want to ask you one question. Of the 9 habits you discovered today, which one will you start tomorrow? Leave it in the comments, not for me, for yourself. Because when you write it down, you make a commitment. And commitment is the first brick of any transformation. If this video touched your heart, share it with a friend who is also carrying a heavy load. She needs to know she is not alone. And if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. This is a place of peace, method, and faith. Every video is a tool for the woman who wants more order in her home and more lightness in her soul. May God bless your home. May He honor every quiet effort you make. May the peace that surpasses all understanding guard your heart and your mind. Until the next video, with love, Graceful Routine.